our backwardness, and when I say our, I don't mean black people, I don't mean poor people, I mean every middle-class, educated person. Our scientific illiteracy is being exploited for political reasons and for profit.
If you are not infected, you are affected.
Why are we not accessing the services while the Constitution says we have a right to life? Why are we allowed to die while we have a right to life?
There can be absolutely no dignity in dying if your president will not acknowledge your disease.
Why at the age of 21, I was allowed by my own country to be vulnerable to HIV, to have HIV, and when I had HIV not to access health services and to have a possibility to die at an age of 22.
We have here people who are distributing pamphlets where it says that AZT kills. I give AZT every day to hundreds of people. So basically those people are telling me I'm a killer.
And some of my friends are dying of AIDS. It's only when they die of AIDS that they recognize the existence of it.
In 1990, there were 160,000 people infected with HIV in South Africa. By 1998, the number of people infected had increased 12-fold to 1.9 million. Highly active antiretroviral treatment, known as HAART, first became available in Europe and North America in 1996. HAART combines 3 antiretroviral drugs to make HIV a manageable condition. By December 1998, there were 0 people taking HAART in the public sector in South Africa.
If a treatment action campaign neminye imibuto were not courageous in taking on government, I would not be standing in front of you today. Because i-10 yami bizawufika nami ndixele abasishiyileyo sibhubhe one by one. So TAC from the inception, i-aim yakhe was to realize the right to life, the right to dignity, and the right to equality for poor people. Siz-achieve njani for ukuthi abantu abaphila ne-HIV ba-benefite kuzo.
I say, let's unite Johannesburg, Pretoria, Cape Town, Port Elizabeth, Worcester, even small little places where our brothers and sisters are there and no one cares for them. We must reach those places and build the gay community of South Africa. Amandla.
Simon Goli, who was a leading campaigner for gay and lesbian rights, died from AIDS-related complications in 1998. He felt that the Department of Health had not done its duty in providing access to treatment for people living with HIV. And in his dying months, he issued a very angry call for action.
We ask you one thing. Join our hands to fight the drug companies. Join our hands to raise money from the private sector. Join our hand in raising money from each of us who will contribute to save the lives of everyone who needs to be saved. Don't speak to us of a partnership of care and compassion. Talk to us about a partnership that will save lives. Simon would have carried this message forward. And we say to everyone here today, cry, rage, mobilize, don't only mourn.
After Simon's funeral, Zaki Ahmad called for the formation of the Treatment Action Campaign. The first demand of the Treatment Action Campaign was a mother-to-child prevention program. And we held our first demonstration on the steps of St. George's Cathedral in Cape Town.
Despite massive HIV/AIDS awareness campaigns about breaking the silence, many people still choose to keep their HIV/AIDS status a secret. Gugu Dlamini was murdered after revealing her HIV/AIDS status.
The T-shirt is a symbolic icon or brand of TAC. So it was a symbol of hope that we can talk about HIV, and HIV lives amongst us, because the print is too big, as you can see, and everyone can see it from a distance.
4,000 children are born to HIV-infected women each year in this hospital. It must stop. There's a cure for children. It's called AZT. Why isn't the government giving it to us? And why are the pharmaceutical companies not making it affordable? The pharmaceutical companies must give it to us for free.
Viva people living with AIDS! Viva! Viva! Today we are fasting in Johannesburg, on the East Rand. We're fasting at Barra. We're fasting in Cape Town. We are fasting in KwaZulu-Natal. We are fasting for reasons that our mothers, our brothers, our sisters, our friends and our lovers are dying. Simon Kodi was a leader of the gay and lesbian movement. He was an anti-apartheid fighter and he was a NAPWA member. There was no treatment at the time. He died without support. We will fight drug companies, we will fight government, we will fight anyone who stands in the way. Today we are lying down to show everyone that we are going to fight back from today. Our friends have died, but we are not going to die.
So yeah, Shia.
The relationships between TAC and government in the beginning were very friendly. TAC thought that in the beginning our biggest enemy was the pharmaceutical companies and the prices that they were charging that made many poor people not being able to access treatment.
And then you're leading our march on the 16th.
What are you marching against?
We're marching for the reduction of prices of all drugs, but specifically AZT.
I'll lead to that march.
Yes.
Let us join hands and read the pledge, those of us who have it. I don't know how we can join hands and read at the same time.
I pledge time, energy, courage and other resources to build the treatment action campaign and to struggle for access to affordable and quality healthcare for all.
Health before profits! Health before profits! Health before profits!
In terms of pricing, we have brought those products to South Africa, being a developing market, at prices way below the world prices. So if you're looking at specific pricing in combination therapy, AZT and 3TC together, in the private sector from us as a manufacturer would cost about 1,500 Rand per month, and in the hospital sector about 1,000 to 1,100 Rand per month for a month's therapy.
Because treatment was not affordable, in protest, TAC leader Zaki Ahmad refused to take antiretrovirals until they became accessible to all people living with HIV.
The vast majority of people with HIV and AIDS in our country earn less than 600 Rand a month. I feel that it's ethically wrong to take that treatment for me.
The then President Mandela and Nkosazana Zuma as the Minister of Health were trying to allow our government to go somewhere else to buy where it's cheaper. And the drug companies said it's a violation of their intellectual property and therefore they want to take government to court. And they took government to court.
40 companies are participating in the PMA case. We do not believe that compulsory licensing or parallel importation offers any ready solution, because it is not only the price of products that actually dictate whether patients will have access to them. It is a much more complicated situation.
So the first thing, we empowered ourselves with knowledge. Bana, you know your facts, because you are going to be challenging doctors, you are going to be challenging nurses, you are going to be challenging government, you are going to be challenging politicians and the international community. So if you don't know your story, it's easy for them to throw you out of the boardroom.
Thanks for this opportunity. My name is Herman or Tamba. People with sugar diabetes, they have to take their treatment all the time. Otherwise, they get sick. In the same way, these treatments that are now available for HIV, this is DDI and D4T. These treatments are helping people to live with HIV without getting sick of AIDS. Sorry, you want to know exactly?
I want to see that.
I can send some around.
Okay. Take a close look at it.
Those tablets that you're holding in your hand for a month treatment, it's 1,200 rands. Together with the D40, 500 rands, together with the AZT, 800 rands, it makes about 3,000 rands a month for one person. And it's unfair that people in rich countries get treatments, but people in South Africa just shouldn't get these medicines. If people know about these treatments, there will be a lot of pressure on government for people to get these treatments.
So the first strategy sasebenzisayo was education. So a cadre of comrades from communities were trained extensively on the science of HIV and treatment, governance and the law.
ARVs, elsikisiki zangena ARVs intsholongwane yabale. Ndingubomikazi wakuphandela apha elitsikisiki. Ngokuhlala ndihlala eSlovo. Ndisukuma noba ndizasiba ndiphila nentsholongwane kagawulayo. Ndingaziva kakuhle, kodwa ke kwameni kwexesha kufike lo MSF evele Cape Town wasinceda ngamayeza ekuthiwa zii-ARVs apha elitsikisiki. Ndibe ngumuntu wokuqala ukuzitya ke zipilisi kuthiwa zii-ARVs, antiretroviral drugs apha elitsikisiki, ngo-Okthobha wonyaka ophelileyo, nge-27 ndaziqalisa ndazitya. Ukuzitya kwam khange ndiqale nje ndivele ndizitye, ndiqale ndatsalwa igazi ekuthiwa le-CD4 count. Eli gazi le-CD4 count libala amajoni wakho uba intsholongwane le siyekusebenzeka kangakanani apha egazini. Kwacaca uba sele indisebenzile. Ndingathi xa ndithetha uba xa ucingelo kwasekucingela uba ndingaya nanini ngaphantsi komhlaba. Kukhona ipilisi ekuthiwa yineverapine, netriticin, ne-D4T. Ndizityile ipilisi kulo nyaka ndaqalisa uphinde nditsalela gazi kwani ndanditsaliwe kwabuya ingxelo zam sithi no-7. Zabuya ingxelo sithi no-499 ke ngoku. Ndabe ndisiya nasesikalini ndaqala sensithi 75 ke ngoku. Andiva ndibuhlungu ndingulobomikazi ndinguye ndine-preschool endiphangela kuyo, akho nto iyenye ndiyivayo.
President Mandela has attended his final cabinet meeting in Pretoria. It was a day of sadness and joy. President-elect Thabo Mbeki will announce the new government before his inauguration next week.
In 1999, we had our new president, Thabo Mbeki, and Thabo Mbeki's new cabinet changes, and our new Minister of Health, Mando Chabalala Msimang, came to power.
What the new light of our land must show is a nation diligently at work to create a better life for itself.
I, Manto Edmi Chabalala Msimang, swear that I'll be faithful to the Republic of South Africa and will obey, respect and uphold the Constitution and all other law of the Republic.
And even in the beginning, Mando Chabalala Msimang did not come across as a person that did not support prevention of mother-to-child transmission. Only later, in few months, we started to realize that she was a denialist. She did not believe in ARVs, and they were just using the price issue as an excuse.
By December 1999, there were 0 people on HAART in the public sector in South Africa. there were 2.4 million people infected with HIV.
When President Mbeki appointed the AIDS panel to advise him, we started to hear that, signs that our president is desperate for an African solution to fight an African problem. And again, we started to hear questions around, let's debate this HIV.
Being a fool, I couldn't answer this question. What happened between 85 and the beginning of the 90s? Whereas the situation did not change in the United States up to today, didn't change in Western Europe with regard to homosexual transmission, but here it changed very radically in a short period of time and increased very radically in a short period of time. Why? We started communicating with some of the people in this room to ask, what is the cause? Welcome and best wishes. Thank you very much.
Well, this was a group of 15 each, a balanced international expert group, so-called. 15 dissidents and 15 others, one of which was Zina.
I was at the meeting of the just before the conference of 2000, and that was a shock, really, to think that Mbeki and his department were listening to what we then called the AIDS dissidents, who were absolutely, in my view, out of their minds. And they were being listened to as serious people by the South African government when almost nobody else in the world would listen to them.
And then it became obvious that there is a bigger problem here. There's a bigger problem of ideology, and it's not resources. It's not the fact that our government thinks that they cannot access antiretrovirals because they're expensive. There's something bigger than that.
I don't believe that it's a sensible thing to ask. Does one virus cause a syndrome?
The dialogue that took place between the dissidents and the so-called experts was unbelievable. People were just talking past each other because the denialists weren't listening and the experts couldn't find anything sensible to listen to.
You see, when you ask the question, does HIV cause AIDS? The question is, does a virus cause a syndrome? How does a virus cause a syndrome? It can't. It really, truly, it's necessary. I've been saying to the honorable members, to the people in this country, it's necessary for people to study this question.
In struggling for access to treatment, we also promoted openness about HIV. We were helped in both struggles by many outstanding individuals like Justice Edwin Cameron.
This is a statement which I'm reading after my interview before the Judicial Service Commission today. I'm living with AIDS. I've spoken out, even though legally and ethically I'm entitled to remain silent because of talk in the legal community about my health condition. The choice to speak is available to me for very particular reasons. I have access to medical care and treatment that ensures that I remain healthy, strong and productive. It is only by creating conditions in which people can speak out without fear that we can begin to end the silence that surrounds South Africans living with AIDS and HIV.
As a judge with access to treatment was one thing to come out because I had the choice. But that for most of South Africans with AIDS and HIV, 4 million of us, that choice doesn't exist.
Often we talk of HIV and we talk about something that seems to exist mostly in the air. And the Treatment Action Campaign today is saying that we must start giving a face to HIV/AIDS.
Yeah, the Teta language, the HIV positive, that diagnosed in 1996. The community siphethe kakuthina abantu ba HIV positive. Andise kwezinasika company senza amayeza amachiza. Ikhampani enjengo Pfizer. Sayazi Pfizer benza iprofit eninzi ngo-99 benze 6.5 billion rands. Besicela nakubo ke ukuthi la mayeza makathotywe. Thina abantu ba-HIV singabona abantu abasuffer the rest ngoba abanye abantu abayifilishi le pain yabona. Into abayenzekayo benza iprofit yabona.
Akusiba HIV kwakumandi akumanzanga tu uyazazi ukuba
Tula mama tula, tula mama tula, tula mama tula, tula mama tula.
I think I was attracted with the level of understanding of science. I was very enthusiastic through the trainings that we did, the treatment literacy program. Each of those comrades that were trained, the responsibility was to train others. Obviously, when people get knowledge, they get excited to act, especially when there's an injustice. When you hear that there are other people who are accessing treatment while our brothers and sisters are continuing to die, and there is a solution and our government could do something. So that interest created small groups of people, mostly in black townships.
How many of you know someone with HIV?
And that way I started in my own home. I started mobilizing my sisters because I have a big family. My father has 8 children. So I started with the 8 children, and you get 3 members from the house, and each must bring the other. So in a branch, you could easily have 100 people from your own community. And the discussions were really hot because people had either family members that were very sick, ill. So the frustration was immediate because people wanted a solution now.
We can do it together. We can do it. We can do it. We can do it. We can do it. We can do it together.
Permit me to deliver greetings from COSATU. COSATU Comrades is proud to be associated with the Treatment Action Campaign. In its short but decisive history, the TAC has achieved a lot to make us all proud.
Viva COSATU! Viva!
We've been talking about treatment advocacy, talking about the reduction of the prices of drugs, targeting drug companies and government.
We write our demands and we put as many signatures as we can, and even to other people that are not living with the virus, so that the PMA can see how strong we feel about that issue.
Every day, starting on the 18th, we have as many people as possible with HIV, with their NAPWA t-shirts, with their TAC t-shirts, in the court, sitting in the court, because the judge must see real people with HIV.
Dimele abantu abaphila nale ntsholongwane ndingomnye nami ophila nayo. Qho ngempela veki siyancwaba amawaka ngamawaka abantu abaswelekayo ngenxa yale virus ye-HIV. Kwaye sidiniwe. Ndidiniwe mna ndingumntu ophila nale ntsholongwane ukubukela abantu besifa mihla nezolo lusizi ke into eqhubeka apha sifuna ezi antiretrovirals into yobana zibe affordable ngoba akuziba mandi into yobana mna ndikwazi uafforda omnye umuntu angakwazi ndimi apha kule ndawo kunye nabanye abantu abaphila nale ntsholongwane nabanye abasixhasayo abangaphili nayo silwela abantwana bethu.
Welcome to Durban, South Africa. Welcome to the 13th International World AIDS Conference, exploring the issues, confronting challenges, seeking solutions, leading the way.
As I listened and heard the whole story told about our own country, it seemed to me that we could not blame everything on a single virus. The world's biggest killer and the greatest cause of ill health and suffering across the globe, it is extreme poverty. Some consider the questions that I and the rest of our government have raised around the HIV/AIDS issue as akin to grave criminal and genocidal misconduct.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Sanbonani. I personally yearned for an unequivocal assertion by our President of HIV as a virally specific condition, a specific condition that is sexually transmitted, a virally specific condition sexually transmitted that if uncontained precipitates on its own debility and death, and for which now antiretroviral treatments exist that can effectively and affordably be applied. To my grief and consternation, the President's speech was bereft of any of this.
In a country where last year 60,000 babies were born with HIV, and in the words of our President, that really is a catastrophe. I want to ask her how she, from the Ministry of Health, is going to lead this partnership to implement a national program on mother-to-child transmission. Is she going to question science, or is she going to implement the program? Thank you.
We do not have enough resources to buy drugs. And in any case, we don't believe that the only way to prevent mother-to-child transmission is by using antiretrovirals.
Causes AIDS.
Please take your seat. The court is in session.
There are people throughout Africa, 25 million people in Africa, and 34 million people in our whole world who are this moment dying. And they're dying because they don't have the privilege that I have of purchasing my health.
By December 2000, there were 0 people on HAART in the public sector in South Africa. There were 3 million people infected with HIV.
Here
I have in front of me a box of fluconazole that would cost 200 Rand, but if you bought it from a South African chemist, would cost you 4,000 Rand. We are announcing our intention to begin a defiance campaign to bring fluconazole and other generic medicines into the country at the earliest possible opportunity.
As part of the Christopher Moraga Defiance campaign, TAC asked for volunteers to go to Thailand and bring back the cheap generic version of fluconazole. And we provided this generic version of fluconazole to MSF and other clinics.
dangerous precedent and in defiance of the rule of law. This is how a drug company and the Minister of Health have variously described the illegal importation of the treatment action campaign of a generic version of the anti-AIDS drug fluconazole.
At the end of the day, you are defying international patent laws.
I can't understand the sudden urgency when it comes to threatening the company's profits. When people's lives are in danger, you don't show the same urgency. So let me make that clear to you. I'm not going to have you dictate time to me.
Who was that taking?
Who was that? Yeah. That was somebody from the Department of Health trying to seize our medicines.
AZT, DDI, D4T. Were those drugs discovered by the pharmaceutical companies who have the patent on them? Were they developed, extensively developed by those companies, or were they developed, as in fact I can prove, and we can all prove here, that they were developed and they were originated and developed and researched with public funding of universities in the United States and the National Institute for Health?
The issue really is who brings the product to the market.
We joined government as friends of the court in support of the court case that the drugs that are available in South Africa are too expensive. South Africa should be able to go somewhere else like Brazil, India, Thailand, where it's cheaper, where drugs are cheaper, to go and access them through compulsory license. And they lost the case because we mobilized and supported our government. TAC and its partners like MSF and the AIDS Law Project lodged a complaint with the Competition Commission against GlaxoSmithKline and Boehringer Ingelheim to force them to grant licenses for generic medicines in South Africa. Rather than risk a legal ruling against them, GlaxoSmithKline and Boehringer Ingelheim agreed to voluntary licenses for generic antiretrovirals in sub-Saharan Africa. And the prices of antiretrovirals started to fall sharply. Without competition and without cheaper drugs, I wouldn't be sitting here.
Rest in peace. Oh, rest in peace. Rest in peace. Rest in peace. Rest in peace.
Seeing a death of a child is one of the memories you could never forget in your life. Because we were all allowed as members to go and view Sibongile's body.
Rest in peace. Rest in peace. Oh, Sibongile. Rest in peace. Oh, rest in peace.
uSibongile ngumntana kaSister wami. uSibongile wazalwa HIV positive.
We know that HIV in children can be prevented. Vianney will show you a single tablet of nevirapine, which costs about 10 rands, can save children from HIV. The failure of us doctors doesn't lie with science. The failure of not treating HIV lies in the political will of our government to treat this illness.
Wangena ephuma August, September, October, November, December. After that, she was in the coma from the 14th of August. On the 17th of August, she gave me a last smile.
To see a tiny body allowed by government to die, everyone felt so angry. And that anger that we had, we went out and mobilized more numbers.
Mama,
More than 70,000 babies are born with HIV every year in South Africa. This is the launch of our court case. We're calling upon the South African government to implement or to roll out the MTCT in all the MOUs in South Africa.
The Minister of Health and MECs for all the 9 provinces are named as respondents in this court case.
I'm supporting this because I also lost a child to MTCT. If there was MTCT PP, I think my child would have been alive today.
Many other countries. We needed to prepare our own cadres to understand the science of HIV and the reasons why we were going to court.
We have done our groundwork. We're a well-known organization. The government knows us. The government is aware about our impact. The government is feeling the pressure, comrade. The drug companies are feeling the pressure, comrade. Everybody is feeling the pressure, comrade. I'm also feeling the pressure right now. So, comrade, do not be scared, do not be afraid.
And this year's Free Your Mind Award goes to the South African organization TAC.
We want to say that drug companies must stop putting profits before the lives of people in South Africa and the world.
It is very sad that after many attempts to negotiate with the government to implement a countrywide mother-to-child transmission program, TAC has been left with no choice but to take the South African government to court. I urge everyone to support our court case for mother-to-child transmission prevention. Thank you.
If our president spoke about HIV and took a public test himself, it would change people's understanding.
Would you take an HIV/AIDS test?
Sitting where I sit, again, HIV test or not, I think is irrelevant to the matter. It might be dramatic and make newspaper headlines.
But would it not set an example, the president taking an AIDS test?
No, but it's setting an example within the context of a particular paradigm.
Our call for prevention of mother-to-child transmission program drew a massive response. We organized marches in 6 provinces in support of the court case to force government to implement this program.
Comrades, I come to you today and bring you greetings from 2 million COSATU members, and we come to say that we march with you in your struggle for healthcare, and we with you to ensure that we're able to roll out services to all of our people.
Accessibility must be there. And if they keep on postponing this thing, the nation is dying. Our kids are dying.
One child at this moment is being born with a virus of infection. One child at this moment is dying. One child at this moment is crying for meals. Where's the mom? Where's the dad? They all died because of HIV.
We elected them. They must listen to us.
Yashiwa sisihlobo sam, nezalamane zam, ngenxa yale ngculaza. Kubani na ungathatha nomanjwa, kubani na ungangena engqondweni yakhe, asiniki nevaraphi, asiniki AZT, asiniki T40, asiniki TTI, thithi asinike wonke.
By December 2001, there were 0 people on HAART in the public sector in South Africa. There were 3.5 million people infected with HIV.
This court case was one of the first major tests of our new South African Constitution. And we wanted to test whether we could ask the courts to force government to change its policy when government was clearly violating our constitutional right to life and our right to health.
The fight against HIV/AIDS is coming to the courts, the whole issue between government and the TAC regarding the rollout of nevirapine, a very controversial issue. To discuss these, we're joined now by our Health Minister, Dr. Manto Shabalala Mzimani.
My own view is that the judiciary cannot prescribe from the bench.
The steps that have to be taken to comply with the order that we make should be taken without delay. We make the following order. Sections 27(1) and 2 of the Constitution require the government to devise and implement within its available resources a comprehensive and coordinated program to realize progressively the rights of pregnant women and their newborn children to have access to health services to combat mother-to-child transmission of HIV. I hand in the judgment.
Yeah, this is amazing.
Zaki? It's a complete victory. There's a direct order on them to give effect to it without delay and an order for costs.
Wow, good work, good work.
I think what this case really shows is the importance of having social and economic rights in the Constitution, that they have a real power in enabling ordinary people, civil society organizations to deal with the needs of ordinary people and ensure that government meets the standards at which our country aspires to.
Will you stand by whatever the court decides?
No, I think the courts and the judiciary must also listen to the authorities, regulatory authorities, both from this country and the United States.
So you're saying no?
Yes, saying no. I am saying no.
Yes, good morning. Well, you look very healthy. Why should they think that you're not well? Good. Yes, how are you? He is a role model, and his action is based on fundamental principle, which we all admire. His position is that as long as drugs are not available to everybody, especially the poor, he will not take them. Now, that's a principle stance, which has attracted admiration inside and outside our country. He is a loyal and disciplined member of the ANC, and his action is not against the ANC, it's not against the government. And I am going to explain that to the president of the country. Well, this is a role model. I'm very happy to be associated with it.
Mandela's support really boosted our call for a national treatment plan. We were able to convene a National Treatment Congress in Durban. We brought together civil society, unions, health practitioners, people living with HIV, and even some very brave government officials.
We have crossed from having an HIV epidemic to having both an HIV and an AIDS epidemic.
We stand at a crucial period in our history. We either move forward together or we perish together. The time for action is now.
We have spent 10 years in this country to allow an infectious epidemic to entrench itself within our society.
Kungaba kwenzenjani na, kungaba kwenzenjani na, kungene ini emhlabeni madoda, kungene ini emhlabeni madodakazi, impela kichimani sibambane nini, sibeni munye, impela ngithi ndiza ufane njengedathathu sikamanzi ngephiko wena TAC, usihole sonke usigijimise, impela siyonqoba simunye.
Since 1997 I was on antiretrovirals until one of the greatest people that I respect very much, one of my heroes, Thabo Mbeki, made me start doubting. I decided to drop my drugs in the year 2000 and just wished HIV away. you will understand that if you're living with HIV and you really want to live, and then someone comes and says, well, HIV has nothing to do with AIDS, it's very attractive. And I got attracted and decided to start denying that HIV caused AIDS. And that denial has been very costly to me, and I'm very lucky to be alive now, at least on a wheelchair. And my CD4 count plummeted from 500 when I stopped taking the medications to 36 in February this year, until I restarted, and I'm able to stand now and speak to you.
After 2 days of deliberations, the Congress came to the following conclusions. The HIV epidemic has created an emergency in South Africa. This emergency threatens South Africa's future by creating more poverty and impacting negatively on our ability to reconstruct and develop South Africa to the benefit of all its people. A national HIV/AIDS treatment plan is needed to combat this emergency. A treatment plan will strengthen the existing 5-year strategic plan, which concentrates mainly on prevention.
Mamele intetho ezithethweyo. Indawo qala ndifuna ukucela uxolo kuba xa kufuneka ndibe lapha ngexesha ngaphambili. Kodwa ngenxa yezinye iingxaki andandinako ukuza apha. Ndeva kakubi kuba lo mcimbi we-HIV ubalulekile kakhulu.
By December 2002, there were 0 people on HAART in the public sector in South Africa. There were 4 million people infected with HIV.
Uyabuza utheki amaxabiso zothokanini uchabalala kavumi yelelema uyabuza utheki amaxabiso zothokanini.
The question of the strategic objective, that's why I wanted to capture it.
Our objective as TAC, it's not to overthrow the government. What we're trying to do is to force a change in the policy of the government.
TAC is not hoping anywhere. There's no, I mean, in its objectives, there's nowhere where it is hoping to lead South Africa, perhaps as government. So government shouldn't worry about TAC, but government should worry about what are we concerned about.
A better life for all. I even remember Mandela say, free at last. Hallelujah. Free at last.
We all are here HIV positive. Either you know it within yourself that you're negative, but wear those t-shirts proudly. Show Thabo Mbeki that you are representing an HIV family member of your home. Viva Teki, viva! Viva!
Stand Up for Our Lives March. Welcome. We want today to be a day that is a turning point in our lives. Because today is the day when we're going to march to Parliament to call on the government to work with us, to work with all of us, to prevent HIV infections and to treat HIV.
Ourselves as COSATU see it as a march for the right to life.
Unless they sign an agreement or unless they give us a clear commitment that our hospitals will have antiretroviral medicines, we will fill up the jails and we will take our medicines there.
COSATU has signed. The community is ready to sign. TAC is ready to sign. And therefore, government, you must sign tomorrow.
We will remain peaceful. We will support our constitution, but all of you are prepared to go to jail for treatment. Put up your hands.
How can I
sing a love song when my sweetheart is dying? How can I sing a love song when my brother is dying? How can I sing a love song when my mother is dying? South Africa, now is the time to stand out for your right. Treatment plan now. Siyaqhubeka, siyaphambili, siyoba munye, siyonqoba, singaboma nqoba, sizofela, sigijima njengamahlanya, sikhahlela njengamasi, siyoba munye, siyonqoba, simunye. Namuhla.
I'm urging, together with the TC, the government, to be fast on this thing of implementing the national treatment plan. That is why the TAC have taken a decision to go out on civil disobedience campaign to say now we are prepared to die. We are prepared to die for this national treatment plan. What we need to do now, we need to stop the new infections. Then we need to treat, give people antiretrovirals who are HIV positive.
Today, comrades, comrades, why? Because the treatment ayikho, comrades. It's clear, comrades. Bangakho comrades abantu kumele bashone ngoba the treatment ingekho. How many people that must die because ARVs are not accessible and affordable? There's only thing that you can push the government by.
To get arrested.
Can't do this to me. We support them. We support them.
We're coming to see the police. We are not going to get out. You're either going to arrest us, you've got to arrest us or arrest.
We demanding the police of the Caledon Square to arrest the Minister of Health, Mando Chabalala Msimang, and Minister Alec Erwin for letting almost 600 people die prematurely from HIV-related illnesses, of which these are manageable and treatable illnesses.
This is an act of civil disobedience. We're asking you to arrest the Minister of Health and the Minister of Trade and Industry for causing 600 deaths a day. You want us to go with you? They're staying here. Okay, everyone.
Okay.
They're going to take Sipo and me and Tembeka and Vuyani to go and speak to the provincial commissioner. Hold on. We want you to stay here and keep calm. We're going to be away for no longer than 15 minutes. We're going to be on the 3rd floor. We'll either come down or we'll be arrested. Except for people who don't want to get arrested. The rest who are prepared to get arrested, stay here. Others who don't want to get arrested, you can stand in the corner. The police have opened a docket against the Minister of Health for culpable homicide. They're going to give us, and the Minister of Trade and Industry, and they're going to give us a case number now.
So what is going to happen now? You are all going to be arrested, charged, charged, your particulars are going to be taken, and then now you are going to be warned to appear to court on the date that you are going to be told.
We are going to be very orderly when getting arrested. The best way is we won't sing now. We can sing when we're inside the cells. But from now, for us to be very orderly, it's good for us not to say a word. We are going to be like sheep going there.
Viva TAC, viva! Viva! Viva TAC, viva!
Come on, sir!
Want to make action now? Want to make a civil disobedience in a way? If you want to close the Adali Street, must close the Adali Street now, make a traffic.
Now.
In Durban, the police wouldn't arrest people. They said to people they must go. And the comrades sat down and they sang. They just sat down and they used tear gas and a water cannon. Some comrades say we need an action now to help the comrades who were in Durban.
Yes, yes.
I think that the best action we can give to the people who are in Durban is to make sure that on Tuesday when Mantu comes to speak in Woodstock, that there are 1,000 of us. 1,000 of us who blocks her from speaking. Because if you act in an undisciplined and individualistic fashion now, thinking that you're being radical and you're helping people, what you will make sure is that all the good people are inside when they should be organizing people to be out to disrupt Mantu speech.
I'm here because my mother is HIV positive, first of all. I'm affected and I've already lost my brother because of HIV. So I'm here to stop Manto Chabalala to talk nonsense because we even heard on the radios what she have said about HIV and AIDS. We are trying to show her that we really need the antiretrovirus.
One thing you have to know is if the minister's car comes here on private property, we're going to sit down. We'll be completely peaceful. We're not going to cause any violence, but we're protesting against the Minister of Health. And we'd like you to arrest her because you opened a docket against her on Friday. So we really would like you to arrest her.
The docket's been opened on
Thursday.
It's not fully investigated yet.
But if she comes here, it's a good chance to arrest her and interview her on the docket. Don't you think so?
You all warned?
It is indeed an honor and a privilege for me to address this august audience at the opening of this very important conference on public health. And I hope the other people who are not participants can sit down and be decent in a meeting that is really trying to address very serious issues. You have a constitutional right, I suppose, so to stand, but you are disturbing the participants as well. Your civil disobedience must not interrupt the rights of other people. Absolutely critical is nutrition. Medicine without nutrition is useless. And there hasn't been any movement in this country that has spoken of nutrition until I started speaking about nutrition. Nobody.
We have heard a number of excuses from you as to why antiretroviral therapy should not be implemented. You have cited toxicity. You have said prevention rather than treatment. You have cited cost. Now that all these excuses have been shown to be false, you rely on a few bureaucrats to hold your arm. You must use the need and hunger of our people by chanting nutrition while you eat 5-star meals. Now let me tell you and Thabo Mbeki once and for all, that yes, and Thabo Mbeki. Let me tell you and President Mbeki, let me tell you and President Mbeki, that if we respect people who are dying, not people who want to protect their egos. If 200,000 people every year are dying of hunger after 10 years of your rule, then you need to ask yourself, shouldn't you resign? Isn't it time for both of you to resign?
Shabalala Msimang for 600 deaths every day that can be prevented. Then if they do not want to arrest Manto, we say to them that day, even today, arrest Manto or arrest us.
At our Congress in 2003, we discussed the possibility of a boycott in the forthcoming general elections to show government and the ANC our seriousness about getting a treatment plan.
To reach my voice to reach the government, my voice to reach Mando Chabalala.
And we agreed to resume civil disobedience, which had been temporarily suspended.
As COSATU, we appreciate that many of you are becoming angry and frustrated with the government and want to take action. As COSATU, we still disagree with the civil disobedience campaign. Is it not COSATU's right, comrade, to disagree with you? Now, let me explain. As far as COSATU is concerned, civil disobedience is only done against illegitimate governments.
We're not against government. We are against the government's policy on HIV/AIDS. So the civil disobedience is against the HIV/AIDS policy used by the government.
We don't say we are not going to vote. We are saying if treatment is not being given now, no vote. No treatment, no vote, and nobody is going to tell us what we must do. We have decided that.
We are not a political organization, I agree. But HIV/AIDS is killing our parents, it's killing our friends, it's killing everyone around us, and we cannot take it anymore.
I'm one of the people who were in the civil disobedience. I got so angry one day, Mantu waving at us. And Zaki, I'm sorry, you are not going to tell me what to do. I am not going to vote. As long as I'm getting the treatment and my sister in the Eastern Cape is not getting one. Thank you.
And we mustn't shy away from saying that if it's necessary, we will not vote. Every province should call a big meeting to discuss it properly, not emotionally, but look at all the detailed questions of what happens during an election. And I think if there's anything that will scare the politicians of all parties, it will be that discussion. But I still say to comrades, the biggest victory we can get is for the current ruling party to say, we are going to implement a treatment plan.
In October 2003, government finally announced that it would proceed with an ARV rollout from the 1st of April 2004.
Government made a turning point to say that they welcome the antiretroviral use in the public sector and that they instructed the Department of Health to come with an operational plan as to how are they going to implement antiretrovirals in the public health sector system.
This is what everyone in TAC has worked for. I am going to go to Houston to get my treatment there. And we are going to make at TAC, we are going to make Houston, which is a hospital in this province, one of the strongest hospitals and best hospitals in the Western Cape.
By December 2003, there were 0 people on HAART in the public sector in South Africa. There were 4.3 million people infected with HIV.
So we had to prepare ourselves and our comrades to support the program by going out there and encouraging people to adhere to treatment. People were starting new drugs And they've heard horrible things about these drugs from the Minister of Health. So we had to counter that confusion with the truth that these drugs, yes, they are not perfect, just like any other drugs. They do cause side effects, but they are manageable. That was one component of what we did to support the treatment rollout. The other was to monitor, because when you force government to do something that they don't wish to do, they drag their feet. So what we had to do was to monitor how many sites they are increasing per year, but also how many people that they are putting onto treatment. Then we found out that in some provinces, the rollout was very slow. So we had to raise those issues and say, people in Free State, people in Limpopo also should have access to treatment, and why is the rollout slow that side?
You have won the right to a treatment plan. Now, our people are being denied that victory by the lack of implementation and the lack of information on this question.
When government started the rollout, they had to accredit sites before they start treatment. It was a centralized accreditation process in Pretoria, where a team of people had to have a list of very tough questions to ask clinics. The accreditation process was used as a stumbling block or a barrier. So many people were standing in long queues. That created waiting lists. Many people died in the waiting list. By late 2004, only 25,000 people were on treatment. So we called for faster action.
200,000 patients on ARVs in 2006. We have to really work hard in order to reach the target.
But government did not join hands with TAC to meet this challenge.
Must also recognize the role of other people who can contribute.
Our Minister of Health publicly endorsed charlatans like Matthias Rath, Zeblon Gwala, many other charlatans in South Africa.
The Minister of Health has created a climate in the country where pseudoscience is tolerated, where AIDS denialism is seen as government thinking. These are vitamin pills that are being distributed by a vitamin salesman by the name of Matthias Rath, who has come to South Africa and run a disinformation campaign.
The results were so encouraging that we felt compelled, even though these were 18 patients, to present it directly to the people.
He's claiming that they're a treatment for HIV. He's claiming that the real treatments for HIV antiretrovirals are not a treatment and that they actually poison people. And he's not allowed to do that in terms of the Medicines Act. So he's breaking the law by importing an unregistered medicine. He's breaking the law by making claims about it, which are false. And he's breaking the law further by running medical practices in a number of townships around Cape Town, where he's distributing these to people, claiming that it's a treatment for HIV.
Now that the word is out, that there is a natural remedy for the control of AIDS, the immune deficiency, this genie cannot be put back into the bottle anymore. So you see, some people have made it a pastime to haunt Dr. Rath, but in fact, I've already accomplished my goal.
Sithathwe sasiwa eDanunu kugqirha okuthiwa ngoRath. Ngelo xesha ndixelayo uphethe ibrown paper enepilisi. Ndazivula izipilisi ndazijonga zibhalwe take 10 tablets 3 times a day. Kuba kumntana mefuna impilo uzityile izipilisi wazitya uthe ngekazigqibi waxhuzula. Wangena esibhedlele nge-12 ndimsemna Monday kuba yena bebuyiswe emsebenzini ngecawa. Ndamsamna Monday kagqirha kodwa makabheke esibhedlele waya eClosegate iswelekele ecawa. Felisha kabuhlungu tata ngoba umntanam i-breadwinner yam leya nabantwana babini. Bebekhona indlela yalo gqirha ngoba akanyangi musitata ingathi ngumuntu lo ne-apartheid ujonga ubuza ubulala abantwana bethu ingathi uzonda abantu abamnyama kutheni ezipilisi ezinika abantu abamnyama nje bodwa.
By December 2004, 25,000 people were on HAART in the public sector in South Africa. There are 4.6 million people infected with HIV.
It's been indicated to us that people who are in need of ARVs are being discouraged from using ARVs right here inside Khayelitsha. Mantu hasn't distanced herself from Matthias Rath Foundation. In fact, she stated that the Matthias Rath Foundation is supporting the program of government on HIV.
Antiretrovirals have got serious effects, side effects. They do. They do have very serious side effects. Unlike in nutrition, nutrition has no side effects. We are ubibele, you know. We are namakhambi esintu uma ngabe setshenziswa kahle nawo, they really athatheka kalula, and most of them do not have side effects. And I think very soon we should be able to put some of these traditional medicines on the shelves so that people can use the traditional medicines, and they are cheaper than the antiretrovirals. You will see that the group that has been working on garlic, on lemon, because lemon has got a lot of selenium. Garlic is an antibiotic, it is an antiviral, it has got an antiviral agent. Basebenzisa ne-olive oil, nale beetroot eniyihlekayo. Mina ngafundiswa ke esikoleni ukuthi mangabe une-anemia, it's good to eat beetroot.
Thank you very much.
I-concern yami yokuba abantu abaninzi bayafa ngenxa ye-confusion ka-Dr. Matthias Rath yokuthi i-ARVs zitoxic. uDr. Matthias Rath uconfuse abantu ngokuthi i-ARVs zitoxic, especially i-AZT ne-nevirapine. Uthi abantu abangomama ababelekayo besitya i-AZT ne-nevirapine bazala abantwana abazizidalwa. Nako mna ndiyayitya i-nevirapine, ndiyayitya i-AZT, kodwa ndikule ndawo ngenxa yezi ARVs. Inkosi.
If the antiretrovirals can do so and you accept them, leave other people to choose what they want. If they want to eat properly so that they can boost their immune system, so be it. If they want to choose to take micronutrients, so be it. This is a free country, you choose what you want.
Ndiphinde ndithi question yam umama uMantu Tshabalala Msimanga makandixelele namhlanje ndiyeke uTAC okanye ndiyeke uDr. Rath. Inkosi.
It's not for me to tell you which organization to join. Ubuza mina ukuthi uye ku-TAC noma uye ku-Dr. Rath. That's your choice. In this country we make choices.
Ngicacisa uMinista ncakasana ngephili ezi-ARVs zirongo. Utheni ezikhupha urhulumente i-ARVs kanti zirongo?
It can't be that your government is not doing good things. It cannot be.
I came here to have a decision from the Minister of Health to say who is right, who is wrong. Are they the killer or am I the killer? And what I heard it today is that it's the same. It's all the same. Whether you give nutrition or ARVs, it's just the same. And I cannot accept this. I cannot accept this. Under the name of democracy, no, there are limits to democracy. Otherwise, it's just chaos. It's total chaos today in Khayelitsha.
The underlying issue was the fact that our president and our Minister of Health were denialists. They did not believe in what the scientists were telling them.
After 5 years of ministerial support for Matthias Rath and other charlatans, TAC obtained a High Court ruling.
Call the matter before court. 12156 of 2005. Treatment Action Campaign and one other versus Matthias Rath and 11 others.
It is declared that the clinical trials conducted in South Africa by and under the direction of the first second, fourth, and fifth respondent are unlawful.
The judge declared the minister had failed in her duty to enforce the Medicines Act and ordered her to investigate Rath and prevent him from conducting unlawful clinical trials.
Andisafuna ukumsha because ndivuye kakhulu. Ukuwina kwethu le case sisebenze kakhulu ma comrade and ndifuna ubulela kakhulu ama comrade from i-branches because if besingekho kwi-branches besingenazo i-branches ka-TAC ama comrade ngangakwazi uyiwina le case. Thanks kakhulu comrades.
Comrades, I want to thank the hundreds of TAC members who stood outside this courtroom day after day through all the court cases to do with Matthias Rath. This is not just a victory against Matthias Rath. This is a victory against Mantu and the evil that she has stood for and the nonsense that she has stood for and the way she has tried to poison people in South Africa. And it's through TAC and everybody here that we have this victory. Amandla!
Even if you ask a president direct question, do you know someone with HIV? You have no idea because should you know someone with HIV? I mean, his own spokesperson, Pax Makatlana, died of HIV. His friend, Peter Mokaba, died of HIV. Some of his family members have HIV. Should you ask him, do you know anyone with HIV? He say no. Because for him to acknowledge that there's someone with HIV, then he acknowledges the existence of that virus that leads to HIV, that leads to AIDS. So it's all about denialism. It's a terrible thing.
For them, it was a choice of saying they must die. Until we find an African solution, they will die. And we could not let ourselves die.
Abebhubhlisisi wami ndishiyeke noNombulelo umntana kasisi wami i-firstborn kasisi wami o-HIV positive wayefanda abazifumene ngoMarch.
We are here to say, begin to save our lives. It is my human right. It is in the constitution. Resources ezingaka kutheni sinabantu abayi-192 kwi-ARVs kule ndawo sizothi apha kutheni kubhubha abantu abayi-52 belinde i-ARVs.
Kuba bena besendimthamba ndinethemba ngendlebe ndimbona ngakhona ebefiti esitya engalahla ukutya ndiyandibona ukuthi uba ngabe beyifumene lento ngabe uThixo undibolekile ngaba ndisenaye nangoku ngoba baninji abantu abaphila negciwane behamba bayaqhathula kodwa yena ngoba bengakhathaleli uze uThixo wamthanda.
The rollout is very, very, very slow.
Only thing that we can do is to say to you that we will forward the memorandum today to the province, okay?
Ndingathetha ukuthi abanankathalo ngabantu. Abantu abanandaba ukuthi abantu bayaphila ngoba banamsebenzi nabo. Bona solango bona be-right kwelabo icalo abantu abagulayo ne-HIV abanamsebenzi nabo. Kanti abantu abagula ne-HIV ngabantu nabo siyabathanda.
By December 2005, 100,000 people were on HAART in the public sector in South Africa. There were 4.8 million people infected with HIV.
We have lost an incalculable number of lives which should never have been lost. That's a matter of excruciating pain. This epidemic is 100% preventable.
This exhibition represents the series of interventions we're making in addressing HIV and AIDS, from prevention, care and support, which includes good nutrition as well as treatment programs. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening to me.
The stand has lemons, beetroot, garlic prominently displayed. Are you not concerned this might give the wrong message?
It's all over. Why do you pick up on garlic and
but I don't see ARVs.
There you are. There are Here they are. What is your problem?
Fireman to now! Fireman to now! Fireman to now!
If people choose to use traditional medicine, and that's why we're doing research to make sure that it's safe and efficacious, why not give them their choices? If they want to use antiretrovirals, why not?
Our government, in particular our Minister of Health, is sending out confusing messages. We are angry because our brothers and sisters are dying because of these confusing messages. Our government is working closely with AIDS denialists such as Matthias Rath. Many people have died in Khayelitsha. We are angry and we are ashamed to do this to our government. But we have no option because what is happening in our country is demolishing and destroying what many people have fought for. If it means that our government must change the Minister of Health, that must happen.
During the Toronto conference, we had demonstrations in South Africa, in particular focusing on the rights of prisoners on access to treatment.
We have comrades in prison who have died. Last year, 110 prisoners died in Westville prison alone.
Njengomuntu ophila leligciwane, inhliziyo yami ibuhlungu kakhulu njengoba ngiyezwa ngiyabuka nama-TV ngiyazilana sey'ndabeni ngiyezwa o-TAC beyipromote bathi ngampela ama-ARVs anegalelo elikhulu ekuphiliseni impilo noma ekuphephiseni impilo zabantu abaphila neligciwane. So inhliziyo yami ngingajabula kakhulu uma nala ngaphakathi ekhaya noma kulo muzi lo okhona waseWestville nalolu hlelo ama-ARVs lungaqalisa khona.
We don't want garlic anymore. We want ARVs, not garlic and beetroot. No more. Mando, no more.
I think that one of the greatest missing pieces in this conference has been the question of political leadership. I would say that if we had the will at a much earlier stage, we could have saved many, many thousands, potentially hundreds of thousands of lives. But in South Africa, we haven't had the political will. In South Africa, we have fought over HIV, over whether HIV causes AIDS, over whether antiretroviral drugs work or whether they're poisonous, over whether nutrition works and so on and so on. And as we've fought, and as we've failed to provide the leadership that is necessary, inexorably this epidemic has grown and grown. In my country, more people die between the ages of 20 and 30 than between the ages of 60 and 70.
South Africa is the unkindest cut of all. It is the only country in Africa, amongst all the countries I have traversed in the last 5 years, whose government is still obtuse, dilatory, and negligent about rolling out treatment.
Comments that I'm about to make are difficult for me to make, but I will make them all the same. It's likely that in the next 2 minutes, what I say, I will be accused of being disloyal to my government and unpatriotic. I want to say now that I believe that our Minister of Health should resign.
Members of the TAC occupied the offices of the Human Rights Commission in Cape Town on Wednesday following the death of an inmate with AIDS at the Westville Correction Centre. The group requested the intervention of the Commission in the matter.
The respondents are hereby ordered with immediate effect to provide antiretroviral treatment in accordance with the aforesaid operational plan to the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 5th, 6th, 7th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, and 15th applicants and all other similarly situated prisoners at Westville Correctional Centre at an accredited public health facility. This court will adjourn.
Absolutely ecstatic. It really is a vindication. It hopefully will be implemented expeditiously and will result in the saving of life. And that's really what this has been about.
So while we were winning victories in court, the rollout was very slow. Government was making every excuse to delay access to treatment.
I'm from a rural Limpopo, and it takes forever to accredit sites in Limpopo.
You can't just say, let's accredit every hospital.
I think it should be about a life saving of 600 people dying of AIDS a day.
Where you sit, it may be important to come with numbers like 200,000 on treatment. I'm saying that we must be able to take protective measures so that we are not finding ourselves dooming our nation in a particular direction.
We knew many ANC MPs supported us, some too scared to say anything or come out in the open about their HIV status. With our People's Parliament, we tried to appeal directly to MPs over the heads of the President and the Minister.
I'm talking now to the empty chairs. Personally, I've always been a supporter of the ANC. And it breaks my heart that the ANC is boycotting this People's Parliament. We want the ANC to lead us in this struggle. And until we find that leadership, we will continue to march.
So from Toronto, we wanted to get a new vision from a new Minister of Health, not continuing the old Minister of Health, who actually is going to recycle what was in the previous strategic plan to the new strategic plan and excluding the role played by treatment. There was no sign that our Minister of Health has political will and commitment to include treatment in the new strategic plan.
By December 2006, 200,000 people were on HAART in the public sector in South Africa. There were 5 million people infected with HIV.
While government was refusing to commit to targets for treatment, we were proposing a 5-year national strategic plan to cut new infections by 50% and to provide access to treatment to 80% of people who needed treatment by 2011. Our Minister of Health at the time, when we were advancing the drafting of the National Strategic Plan, she fell sick. We took opportunity of that time. And then Chairperson of the South African National AIDS Council, Phumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka, took leadership. And the process was fast-tracked.
We consciously decided to build a relationship and a partnership
with all the stakeholders, and you played a significant role in that process.
Deputy President Phumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka's willingness to work with TAC was a signal that the ANC and government were rejecting the president's stand on AIDS. This cleared the way for the National Strategic Plan, which was largely written by us and our allies. So in 2007, we had a new NSP, which we worked very hard in asking for communities to give input. We can't have blind loyalty. Many of us were expelled from the ANC branches. Some of us were no longer welcomed in meetings, or we were still seen as people who were anti-government, anti-ANC, because if you are a loyal supporter or loyal member of the ANC, you would not take your own ANC to court. But I am happy that today, the same comrades that thought of us at that time that way, today see the point. And that particular point was seen in 2007, the Polokwane conference, where many of them said, we can't continue to let President Beki to bully us, in particular to ignore HIV and health in South Africa. And therefore, we as ANC members want to recall him. And as soon as Beki was recalled, they replaced the Minister of Health. Meaning, they were seeing all these things that we were seeing, but they were not brave enough to speak the truth.
By December 2007, 300,000 people were on HAART in the public sector in South Africa. There were 5.1 million people infected with HIV.
You've won enormous battles with the greatest of courage, with the greatest of fortitude. You won the battle for government to provide ARVs. That is historic in any country, and in this country even more so. And it was the TAC who led that battle, and I want to thank the TAC for that work that you've done and the work that you continue to do now.
By December 2008, 460,000 people were on HAART in the public sector in South Africa. There were 5.2 million people infected with HIV.
It can be defeated if people are treated. It can be defeated.
When Jacob Zuma became president in 2009, Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi took over as a Minister of Health.
10 years have passed now since we were all together in Durban, South Africa. A decade later, we turn again to South Africa. It gives me extreme pleasure to introduce Dr. the Honorable Aaron Motsoaledi, Minister of Health.
Today, we are guided by science, best practices, and recognition of our constitutional responsibilities to provide everyone in South Africa with access to healthcare services, and to do our best to try and get control over the HIV/AIDS pandemic.
In the first 3 days of his appointment, he called TAC. And he said, I want to meet with you. Starting a relationship, open and frank relationship like that, that says, we will agree to disagree, but I need your support. I need your support because I know you have capacity to reach where government is not able to reach. We have seen such an energetic, down-to-earth, enthusiastic Minister of Health who goes out of his way, considering the capacity issues and the health system challenges that he is dealing with on a daily basis, crisis after crisis, crisis after crisis. But still, if there is a challenge, he's the first to respond and say, we are trying to deal with it. We know we have a problem. We should have corrected this problem 10 years ago, but now we have the problem. How do we resolve it together? On World AIDS Day 2009, government announced a series of policy changes that showed its seriousness to provide antiretroviral treatment to all who need it. These announcements changed TAC's relationship with government.
More than 1,000 health facilities now provide HIV and AIDS treatment. There had been just over 500 facilities only before April.
We have the ingredients. We can go as far as we want. Now we need to be much more efficient. We need less corruption. We need, very accountable and decent, transparent government.
By December 2009, 700,000 people were on HAART in the public sector in South Africa. There were 5.4 million people infected with HIV. By December 2010, 1 million people were on HAART in the public sector in South Africa. There were 5.5 million people infected with HIV.
Between 1998 and 2011, over 2.5 million people died of AIDS. International and South African studies showed that at least 350,000 people died who might otherwise have lived as a result of Thabo Mbeki's denialism. Those responsible still have to be held accountable for their deeds. The damage done to South Africa by AIDS denialism at the height of a devastating epidemic will take decades to undo. These struggles TAC can never be achieved without addressing other social issues. Because all our struggles are interlinked and they cannot be fought as single organizations. We need to come together. Siformishe solidarity. We are not going to hand over in South Africa to corrupt leaders. We fought very hard for South Africa. Our mothers and fathers and our forefathers fought very hard for the liberation and our democracy. Now it is our role as leaders of today
Yo, take it.